feel like we get enough credit for the banger of an intro song that is. I know, I've heard it 41 times. By the way, it's episode 41 of Bus Picks. My name's Dio. That's Donovan.
How we doing?
But that intro bangs. Thank you for finding it. It really does.
No,
Don, it's football time, buddy.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Are you one of these guys that's like week 0 doesn't count?
No, week 0 counts. It counts to your record, 100%. But it's not games that I like. Obviously,
you didn't get up in the morning for Florida State and Georgia Tech in Ireland. I did. Georgia Tech money line. Streamlined it to the blood. We're going to talk about that game later. Welcome. It's football. This is the first weekend of college. We're going to break down college to start this episode.
Yep.
After fact of the day. We're going to also get into a bust pick. We're going to break down the last two divisions in the AFC, which is the AFC North, Don's home division, and my home division, the AFC South. Look how we did that. Question of the day and a pick of the week starting for the rest of football season.
Yep.
We're giving you one pick of the week.
Sounds good. Only one. I came stacked today. I have one future and one backup.
If you thought I showed up to the gunfight with only one bullet, you're out of your mind.
That's true.
Yeah. It's week 1 of college football.
Yeah.
I'll get into it now before we get into the fact of the day.
Sure.
I told myself, and I think I was talking to you about it, I was only going to allow myself 20 plays a weekend.
Yeah.
Which is 10 NFL, 10 NCAA, and really focus, maybe up my units a little bit, and really drive in on the games that I like and the lines that I see. And I looked at the board today, and I had my gambling chat rattling off, and I couldn't do it. I think I have 35 plays on for Saturday alone.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're swinging heavy.
Yeah, Don, fact of the day.
So fact of the day, well, first off, it's my little bro's birthday.
Shout out to Blaine Behan, the best little brother in the game.
So we're doing a fun fact on his team today.
Okay.
His favorite team's the Dodgers.
Love the Dodgers, too.
I know, 78 wins so far.
Me and your brother, all of our favorite teams, same.
Yeah. No, I've noticed that. Yeah, it is weird.
Dodgers, Lakers, Colts. Also.
Yeah. But so fun one, I don't think the Dodgers get enough credit for their development of players, because I know right now a big push right now is go after the Marlins farm squad, go after the Orioles, go after the Pirates. Their farm development is so strong.
Yeah.
Did you know the Dodgers have 18 rookie of the years? 18 players have gotten rookie of the years on the Dodgers so far
across their entire
across the entire existence.
All right, so it's 150 years of baseball?
Yeah.
I would expect the Yankees to have 50.
Yankees have 9.
No
They're
way.
second place.
They have not. So we're in first with 18?
18, and so Dodgers are in first with 18. Yankees and Braves are in second, tied with 9 out of all modern teams.
That's awesome. That's a great stat.
That's
a great stat. We're going to talk about stats
where the Dodgers have gotten their anchor of them. They went 4 consecutive Rookie of the Years.
When was this?
From 79 to 82. Took a break, and then ran it back for another 5 between 92 and 96.
Can you tell me our last one?
From late 70s to mid 90s, they had 9 Rookie of the Years.
That's insane.
Over that 15-year span. We're looking at Rick Sutfield in 79, 3-time All-Star, 1-time Cy Young winner. Steve Howe, 1-time All-Star. Fernando Valenzuela, 6-time All-Star and a Cy Young, and is in the Hall of Fame. Steven Sachs, 5-time All-Star. And then that was the end of that 4-peat. And then for the beginning of the 5-peat, you had Eric Karros, only Dodger to hit 2 home runs in the same inning, which was a weird one.
That's insane.
He was only on the team for a couple of years.
But he hit a home run. They went through the entire batting order, came back and hit a number
and hit another dinger.
That's insane.
Yeah. And then you had Mike Piazza, 12-time All-Star and in the Hall of Fame. Raul Mendez, 1-time All-Star, and then Hito Nomo, 1-time All-Star, and
legend,
and then Todd Hollandsworth, only one not to get an All-Star or any other award on the pro level.
So he just balled out his rookie year, and then did they trade him, or was he just?
He was around for 5 years. He was on a World Series squad, and then kind of just shuffled around the league after that.
Corey Seager
got one after that. I wasn't going to go through all 18. That's a lot of players.
And I just want to finish. The last one was 2017. Cody Bellinger, who's now a Cub.
Yeah.
So I mean, pretty awesome. But Corey Seager and Cody Bellinger are big names in
Yeah,
in
and the
baseball
Dodger fan.
still.
And still, yeah.
Yeah. Cubs, they're like, he's one of the premier players on the Cubs, and Corey Seager's one of the premier players on the Rangers. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that was a fun, like, that was just interesting to see. Like,
Don,
wow.
we're going to talk about stats later for question of the week.
Okay.
So just
Sure,
keep
I'll
your
lock
brain
in.
there. College football breakdown. The
Yes.
college football season technically started last week, but this week we're going to really focus on the big things. Heisman picks, division winner. What division do you see maybe winning and making a sneaky run? Teams that are going to make sneaky runs, teams that are going to bust really hard.
Yeah.
And our bracket pick. My
Sure.
new favorite thing that's going to start happening. March Madness is awesome because like the week before you start doing your bracket.
Yeah.
College football in about 10 years is going to get to that. In about 10 years, we're going to be sitting down in August with our little pens being like, well, I think Ohio State's going to get here and Oregon. And
You think it's going to expand beyond 12 teams?
No, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because of money, but 12 teams is perfect for right now.
Yeah, no, I do agree. But
I think 12
when you're
teams is
saying 10
perfect,
years for the
period.
bracket, I'm like, you got to have at least 24.
No, I get it. It's not as like fun as March Madness because it's what 64 teams or
Yeah,
62
so
teams
many.
or something like that.
68 if you count the play-ins.
Yeah, so it's like that's crazy, but like still getting 12 before the season.
Yeah.
And not really even knowing, I could kind of not as challenging, but still very challenging.
Yeah, no, there's going to be those fringe kind of wild card teams that are going to
Do you
make their
think
way in.
anyone gets the bracket right this year?
Yeah, I can see it.
Do you think
'cause-
they get all 12 and placements right?
Yes, I think it's because people have gotten
predictable.
close.
Yeah.
But I think this one's a little bit more predictable than like March Madness.
Okay. Let's start with our Heisman picks. I have two.
Sure.
You have one?
Yeah, I just got the one.
That's fine. I'm going to start with my first one.
Okay.
It's Miller Moss.
Yeah.
From USC. Is that your pick too?
No.
Okay.
I went kind of chalky on this one just because it's hard for me to visualize outside of it for now.
So I went Moss, quarterback
Yeah.
from USC, specifically because I'm trying to stay out of the homer thing. I think USC is good. I think their defense is going to be better. I just don't think their offense is going to be as great. But if their offense can take a step up, Lincoln Riley has won 3 quarterbacks Heisman: Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, and Kyler Murray, and Caleb Williams. So that's 4 quarterbacks he's helped win Heismans.
Yeah.
Why not bet on another guy?
Sure.
And if odds are in your favor, he's plus 2,800, and you're going to find out immediately.
That's not a bad bet.
You're going to find out immediately. They play LSU in week
We won.
1, Sunday.
Yeah.
If he comes out and has a good performance,
You're feeling confident.
that number, you're not getting that number at 2,800.
No.
Yeah, at best, you're getting it at 1,000.
Yeah, realistically.
Yeah. So, Don, who's your pick?
I went Carson Beck.
I actually do. I think I know it's the boring and safe pick.
It is a chalky pick, but I think I like him.
Kinda love it.
Like, to me, the big reason why I have confidence in it is you saw the progression last season where they started out like limited playbook, limited options. They kept him under control. And as the year went on and as he got more confident, they opened up that playbook a lot more for him. Mike Bobo literally allowed him to take more risks towards the end of the season, allowed him to start developing his game. Now with that whole year under his belt and an extra offseason, I think they allow him to sling it a little bit more and take that next step.
That was also their first year in that new offense.
Yes.
Because their offensive coordinator had left to go be your guys as the
Yep.
Ravens offensive coordinator. I think Georgia probably should have won the national championship last year.
Yeah.
I think
they were flirting around with it.
they lost an Alabama game that kept them out. I know they didn't play anyone, and I know they didn't make it in the bracket. But if it was a 12 team, they would have won, and I think they would have been able to beat any other team. I think Georgia's really, really good. Carson Beck might be a top 3 pick in the NFL draft next year if he plays correctly. If
Which
he wins
I think
a
he
Heisman,
will.
he will be the number 1 quarterback off the board.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily. He has that kind of ceiling right now.
My other pick for Heisman, and this is my more realistic one.
Sure.
Jordan Milroe, the quarterback from Alabama, plus 1,400. A lot of people talk trash on Jordan Milroe. He can throw the ball deep, and he can run the ball really well. He doesn't know how to throw the ball accurately and short.
Yeah.
I think this new offense is with a new system in Alabama. They still have great athletes in Alabama. They still have a great offensive line. And
Yeah.
Jordan Milroe is one of those athletes and college football players that you're like, this guy can take over a game. I am betting it's plus 1,400 right now. It's a good bet.
That's not bad.
Think about it in a few weeks. Like, let's just say it's week 7 and they're undefeated or they have one loss. An Alabama team with a quarterback that has 10 plus rushing touchdowns and 25 plus passing touchdowns, that guy's going to at least be in the top 3.
Yeah, they're going to be in the conversation without a doubt.
I think Carson Beck might actually be the pick, though. I just
you want to take the odds in
Yeah.
case because you're betting on Beck to take the step.
Yeah.
And these guys are in a little bit more situation where it's like they could sling a little bit better. They have nothing to lose. Like the expectation is not at the same level.
I also think, like, as much as I was talking about Carson Beck stepping up and possibly being the number 1 pick, I feel this exact same way about Jordan Milroe. I think teams can talk themselves into what kind of person and player Jordan Milroe is, kind of like they did with Jane Daniels this year.
Yeah.
1 year is really all it takes for you to change the perception of everyone. Look at Bo Nix. Look at Jane Daniels. Look at Joe Burrow. It takes 1 year for people to be like, oh, he can lead a franchise.
Yeah, he could be our guy.
Most interesting division.
So for me, I have the Big Ten, which I think we both would have because it's a division of monsters, in my opinion.
I have the Big 12.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Big 10.
Okay. To me, the Big Ten, it's just
It's monsters.
it's just it's so top heavy, but the top is deep.
It's USC, Washington, Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan. Indiana's going to be good. Penn State's going to be good. There's a lot of good teams. Michigan State, Wisconsin, who's in like their 3rd year with their head coach, Luke Fickell. Nebraska's coming back, and maybe Nebraska, they got the number 1 quarterback that has a lot of people saying he reminds them of Patrick Mahomes. Like, there's a lot of it is really, really. I think it's more interesting than SEC.
I think without a doubt, it's more interesting than the SEC. The only other division I would have put here is the ACC because it's who the hell's going to win this.
So that
it makes no sense.
That's my argument for.
Like it's really interesting the opposite direction of the Big Ten.
That's my argument for the Big 12.
Okay.
The Big 12 to me is there's probably 2 teams that everyone know can't win this division. Mm-hmm. And there's about 8 or 9 teams that are like, oh, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Utah probably going to be good. You know,
I like them a lot.
Kansas State could win the division. Oklahoma State could win the division. Just across the board, Iowa State could win the division. Like, there's a lot of teams. Some people pick Colorado could win the division. There's a lot of teams here. Arizona State. These are a lot of teams here, and one of them, as long as they finish with at least 2 losses, whoever wins that conference gets an automatic bye.
Yeah,
that's huge.
But I think because I don't see any of these teams being the like head and shoulders bigger. Like there's some favorites, but obviously like no one that's looking to dominate.
Do you think they cannibalize each other like old Pac-12?
That's what I'm guessing. That's why I'm putting both of these divisions.
But
it's
Tom,
like,
we love that.
I know, I love that because I'm like, this might be other than the SEC. Mm-hmm. I think ACC, Big 10, Big 12. I don't know if the like your number 2 school is only going to have 2 losses. I could see this easily being like the champion has 3 losses, and everyone's like, that's just the division. That's how they had to play it.
But
like, it feels
they
more. They
said if you win your division, you're in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I like that. It's like the NFL where it's a qualifier, it literally makes interdivisional games more important.
No, it makes them matter so much more.
And it's awesome because last year, or not last year, but multiple years, we've had years where you could lose your division and still get in the playoffs.
Yeah. And
you could still do that here as long as you have a good record. But if you have 3 losses going into the conference championship and you lose, sorry, you're out.
But I'm saying I could foresee 2-3 loss teams in a conference championship for these 3 divisions. Oh, the ACC, Big 10, Big 12.
I think it's because they loaded the boards.
They loaded these conferences so much.
Do you like that?
I do. It makes every game matter a little bit more. I feel it pulls away from those kind of cakewalk schedules that a lot of teams a lot of teams that like, oh, we're just going to play 5 kind of not FCS tier, but like the lower tier
FBS,
schools,
the Murray States.
We're just going to run through 5 or 6 of them and count those as easy wins and play 4 real teams.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be put in that position. Mm-hmm. I think the college football playoffs is going to be so much fun. I think a lot of old school college football fans hate that they feel like the season means less because they're like one loss really doesn't ruin your entire season. And I kind of understand where they're coming from, but I think they need to understand like
This will bring out more competitive football during the
Correct.
season.
It's more parity.
Yeah.
Instead of being like anyone can make the playoffs now.
Yeah, and you cannot take your foot off the gas around most teams. Instead of, we know what we have it circled on the whiteboard. These are must-win games, and the rest of them we expect to win. There's going to be a lot more like we have to put everything into each week.
Yeah.
Like we're going to see a lot more of that kind of motivation.
Yeah.
I feel with these interconference games.
I love it. I'm really excited for the Big 12. You're excited for the Big 10. Bust of the season. What's the team that's going to be the most disappointing and, maybe miss the playoffs?
For me, I have Oregon here.
Interesting.
For me, it's not that I don't like Oregon.
That's an interesting pick.
It is because like they are being more heavily favored, but I think it's a division of monsters. That's what I'm saying. Is I think we're going to end up with 3 losses out of this conference.
Yeah.
Whoever wins the championship, and it makes me worried with Oregon starting the season, having a lot of new players on the roster, and having like to mesh very quickly. Like based on their schedule.
You're not a big he's on his third school quarterback kind of guy, right?
I'm typically not.
Dylan Gabriel,
especially with that being like at that age.
Yeah.
Because that is a brand new offense you're trying to relearn 3 times. So you're having to not only like if you come in as a freshman and you could dedicate to learn the offense in the system, you're fine. Having to forget the past 2, unlearn that all, and then relearn a third. That's a lot of information exchanging right there.
But Dylan Gabriel's 24 years old. He knows how to run a system at this point. I mean, he's an adult man. He probably should be in the league by this point. At this point, for injuries. But they just did this with Bo Nix last year, and it worked out really well for them.
No, I that's why I'm just I'm leaning a little bit as overall on the roster. There's more new guys. They had a lot of transfers coming in and a lot of freshmen coming in. Plus the new division and a lot tougher teams.
Yeah.
It just feels like if you end up with 4 and Ohio State ends up with 3 losses, there's the difference.
So before this season started, if we would have done this episode last week, I would have looked you in your eyes and I would have said Florida State. Because I don't believe in DJ Uiagalelei.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about him later. And they only returned 4 starters on that offense.
Which is scary.
3 starters on the defense. And that coach has only won 9 games without last year's starting quarterback, Rudolph. It was now the Jets quarterback, which is a little keep an eye out on that.
Yeah, that's something to watch.
I don't like Florida State, but I'm not going to pick it because it feels like a cop-out answer. Monday morning quarterback, whatever. I have just as juicy of a pick, if not juicier. Notre Dame.
Ooh.
Notre Dame is a team that has told the NCAA and the voting committee multiple times, hey, we think we're bigger than divisions. We think we're bigger than college football. And they might be. They're Notre Dame football.
Historically, they have. It's worked.
They're their literal own giant. They're their own monster in the universe of football itself. They're bigger than some NFL franchises.
Yeah, with the fan base.
Saying that, they're not in a conference. They're not playing in a conference championship. So the best thing they can get is a 5 seed.
And they need to work hard for that level.
If they get 2 losses, they're probably not in the playoffs.
It depends on who the losses. That's where who the losses are too.
They start the season in Texas A&M at Kyle Field. Now, Texas A&M, new head coach.
Yeah.
A lot of new players there. A lot of moving pieces there. They still had a top 5 recruiting class. They still got a lot of players out of the transfer portal. And Kyle Field is the top 3 most dangerous places to go play football.
Yeah.
It is insane there. It's there, and then both Death Valleys, which is LSU and Clemson. Those are the spots, Oregon probably too, that you don't want to be around.
No, those are rough fields to go play with.
I think they lose that, and they have to go to USC at the end of the season, and I think they lose that. That's a 2-loss team. That means their 2 best teams that they have to play in the season. They lose those 2 games.
They cannot lose a third.
Correct. I think they can strangely lose a third somewhere in that little schedule.
Yeah.
They lose third, they're out of the playoffs. I'm taking my shot.
Sure.
I don't think Notre Dame gets in the playoffs this
Interesting.
year.
Okay.
That's my big bust of the season.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's a huge one. Wild card of the season, Don. A team that some people are maybe flying under the radar. I know it's a little bit harder in college because you kind of have to have bigger names to kind of get in.
Yeah.
What's the team for you?
For me, it's Miami.
I like it.
Just because I think the ACC is wide open for a lot, especially with Florida State taking the loss. They start their season at Florida. Mm-hmm. If they win this game, I don't like there's not a whole lot of other schools they play for the rest of the season that scare me for their roster. So I think this first week is going to make or break my entire pick. I think they have a good shot at running the ACC here, just because I don't trust in Clemson. Like that's the other big pick everyone has been feeding is Florida State, who already took an L,
and Clemson.
And I don't have a lot of faith in Clemson. Dabo is refusing to use the transfer portal for
anything.
He
hates the transfer portal.
He hates it, which is fine if you develop. But your recruiting class is now getting smaller. You're limited to very few local players. I wasn't really thrilled with a lot of the recruiting class. Like, you had some guys, but it was nobody that was like, this is going to fill the gaps on your roster.
This doesn't feel like 2017 Clemson.
No, it does
anymore.
not.
It feels like 2010 Clemson. It doesn't feel right.
It's not the juggernaut where I'm like, there's no one else. So I think if in a division that's wide open, take the easier schedule, and I think Miami has it.
Look, the thing about Miami is they're always going to recruit well. It's, are they going to coach and are they going to execute? They don't have any sort of fan help either. Their stadium help is more of like Miami fans are notorious. They're the worst fans in all of sports. They're bad. They really are.
There's a lot to do in Miami.
Yeah, but like we're in LA and we still have diehards here.
Yeah, that's true.
Like Dodgers games are packed out.
Yeah.
Miami is just like, I guess you're right. There's a lot more to do.
Yeah, there's a lot to do down there.
My wild card of the season, and may not be too much of a surprise, I love Boise State this year.
Interesting.
I think they lose one game to Oregon in a good game. I don't think it's close. I think they lose by 13 points in week 2. Yeah. I think they finished season 11-1. And
you kind of got to give it to them at that point.
And could possibly sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah,
if they win the Mountain
West. Sneaky school there.
I like them a lot. That's my wild card team.
Sure.
Don, before we get into our brackets, I need you to, while I'm explaining my bracket, I want you to find me 4 teams.
Sure.
Because what we're going to do today is we're going to spin a wheel, and we're going to find out what team you're going to be rooting for this year. Because you don't have a college.
I just like watching the overall game.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not a diehard to any particular school.
We're going to get you a team today.
Okay.
You pick me out 4 teams that you are excited that you would be. You can pick Georgia, Texas, Miami, and Clemson.
I'm doing the off the like. I'm taking Miami as one of them because they're my wild card.
Fine.
I think it's fun to cheer for.
You find me 4.
Sure.
Well, I'll come back to you.
Okay.
For when it's your turn.
Go ahead.
Let me start with my top 12. I'm going to start with my number 1 seed in college football playoffs. I think it's Ohio State Buckeyes. I think they might lose one game. I think that Oregon game is going to be tough. I think it's going to be a lot. I'm going to call it a flip on that. I'm going to give Ohio State the loss there. Even if they don't lose there, I think they might lose somewhere along the road, but I think they're the number 1 clear team in the country. Georgia's number 2. Carson Beck. They're loaded across that defense. Kirby Smart's kind of coming for revenge. And if you were going to take a wild pick on a national championship, I think Georgia might be a good, clean, like blue chip stock. Clemson at 3. I know, Don, you were talking about Clemson maybe being slippery. I don't love the ACC as much. I think the ACC kind of cannibalizes itself. I think there's a lot of good play in the ACC, but if I'm being honest, I can't really figure out the ACC that well.
It's going to be hard to read those tea leaves, and that's where I'm that's what I'm betting on.
Yeah.
Is murky situations, it's ripe for exploitations.
Yeah. My number 4 seed, Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State does win the Big 12. I think they lose 2 games, but they win against Kansas State in the championship game. They get in.
Yep.
Alabama at the 5 seed, Utah at the 6 seed, who doesn't get in the championship game but also has 2 losses and is a very good team with a lot of returning stars. Oregon as my 7 seed, Penn State as my 8 seed, Texas as my 9 seed, Ole Miss as my 10 seed, who has a very easy schedule. Even if they lose 2 games, they're SEC biased. They're going to get in. Same thing with Texas. Texas has one of the most loaded rosters. Penn State has a great quarterback in Drew Rattler. USC at my 11 seed, who, like I said, there's a path there for them. I think they can absolutely get in.
Yeah.
And my number 12 seed, North Carolina State. This is my other ACC pick.
That's filthy.
I think North Carolina State has great quarterback play. I think they have good coaching. And I think they have enough returning seniors for them to actually make a push in the ACC. Maybe lose 3 games, but show that in those 3 games against Oregon, Miami, and maybe a Florida State that they're close enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad. For me, I'm taking Ohio State with the number one. I just think that's pretty chalky.
They're
but
just
it works.
up and down every single position. The best.
Yeah, they're loaded.
Yeah.
So I think that they take the Big Ten, and then Georgia taking the SEC. They're pretty good ones. I'm taking Utah to win the Big 12.
So I just couldn't go full chalk.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but
I get it.
I feel like
Utah.
I needed to go heavy chalk in my kind of division work. So I get bizarre at the end.
You do so much better than me at this stuff because you do that though.
It works a little
Yeah.
bit. Then I'm taking Miami for the ACC championship there.
I like it.
And then UNLV for the Mountain West.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a weird one. Again, I think it's a murky situation in the Mountain West. There's nobody that I'm like, that is the team to beat.
Okay.
So I like USC or UNLV. I think their ground game is. I think it's not being represented to the point in the media where I think it's going to be.
UNLV has a really fun offense.
Yeah.
That head coach last year was doing some fun stuff. This is a good year for them to explode. They had moments last year where I was like, oh, this team could be dangerous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It feels like they're more dynamic playbook that not really seen in a lot of other places.
Yeah.
Which could either work very, very well or blow up in their face.
And UNLV is good for like one every 10 years where they're good.
Yeah, they make it just a quick
And
run.
make like a good bowl game.
And then I'm taking Texas, similar to you there.
Texas is a good team.
Penn State.
Penn State's a really good team.
And then this is, I feel like I'm just being very heavy on Big Ten, but Michigan.
So you like Michigan this year?
I do think Michigan does well this year. I think their defense kind of carries them through.
Can we talk about Michigan for a second?
Sure, we can talk about Michigan.
How do you feel about the whole cheating scandal? We've talked about it a couple times.
I don't care.
You don't care
At this
anymore?
point, I don't care because they're trying to. I think the NCAA is doing two things. One, they're trying to preemptively attack Michigan in preparation for the Netflix documentary
came
that's
out
coming
yesterday, and
Yes.
people were screaming. People were like, "This guy was just doing it for his mom. He really cares about the program. He's all about everything. He's a family man. Get off his back. You would do it too for your team."
Sure.
That's sure.
Like they're gonna make a reason. He's gonna paint himself in the best light he can. That's what's gonna happen.
Also, I think I'm done with Netflix documentaries. Let's go on a small tangent.
Sure.
They've done multiple sports documentaries now where I'm just like, well, that's not true.
None of it feels hard hitting. None of it feels investigative.
Don, I'm going to give you, anyone that listens to this, go do some homework. Go listen to the Florida documentary that they made.
Meyer?
No, on Urban Meyer, on Aaron Hernandez, on the Pouncey brothers. And
They ignored so much.
They
that
just
happened
talk
there.
about Urban Meyer being like a god. They don't even talk.
No.
They don't really touch the scandals. It's
The fact that 23 members of that team have ended up in prison is bananas.
One of the players had a dead body in his trunk, Janoris Jenkins. Like, it's insane.
And they didn't talk about any of it.
They were like, oh yeah, and this stuff
It
happened.
felt like a fluff piece.
And you're just like, what am I here for? And every single one of those sports Netflix documentaries have felt that way to me.
No, they recently they felt like publicity statements. They're not hard. They're not looking into what's actually going on to any degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why I'm like, I think the NCAA issuing their notice of allegations was preemptive for this in case there was new information that came out the documentary.
But you still think they're good enough to get?
I think
into
they'll
the
be
playoffs?
fine because I don't think there's actually going to be any punishment. They're just trying, and the fact that Michigan went and embarrassed them last year and still won the championship, I feel like they're like, oh, we need to save face and still say we're going after them, but there's nothing left. There's nothing that they can do at this point.
They can even take the trophy, the championship. No one's going to care. They're going to be like, we won it. Shut up.
Yeah. They needed to drop the hammer last year. They didn't. It's too late now. I'm taking Ole Miss as well. I like Notre Dame. I think that two losses gets them in still.
I agree. I think
if they lose that weird third, I could see them dropping out there. But
I think the committee really wanted Notre Dame to join the division, whether it's ACC, Big Ten, SEC. They definitely want them to be like, hey, go play more premier games.
Which they have a couple, but not enough.
It's not that they don't play. Every game in Notre Dame's a premier game. It's more of like, go play in a division. That's how every other sports league works.
Yes.
You guys are not above the law. And I think that putting some pressure onto them might do us a service.
It's them, BYU, and who else are they?
BYU's in the Big 12 now.
Yeah,
it's only them, UMass, and UConn, and UConn's trying to get into the Big 12.
Yeah, so I think if that's what I'm saying is with BYU going in, and then with UConn trying to get in.
Yeah.
I think that this is going to kind of the only way I see Notre Dame fully being like, okay, we'll go without being forced, is if they redo these divisions or these conferences, which they will have to do
eventually.
Like, there's no Power 5 anymore.
Give us like 3 years of this playoff format, get people used to that, and then you can shock their system. There's too much change for these old bags. These people that have been watching football for like 40 years are barely discovering what NIL is. Like, they're barely wrapping their head around paying players instead of just giving them an econ class to fake.
I mean, they should be paid for their name, image, and likeness. It just
they should have been paid for that
years
since
ago.
the 50s.
Well, they were, but it's just not legally.
Yeah, shout out to Arian Foster.
And then Oklahoma State, and then I'm taking Missouri here.
All right.
For the last seed.
I like Missouri, but they won so many close games last year. They have the fattest kicker of all time.
I mean, the kicker part doesn't bother me, but I think that they are going to be the, like 2 years ago, Minnesota Vikings walking through raindrops. Either you're going to keep winning these one-score games, or it's going to just fall off completely, and I want to know which ones it's going to be.
They play Alabama.
Yeah.
They play Florida.
But this is the season. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but I'm like, this is the season where I'm like, you can do it. Like, you can get one surprise upset.
They have the best wide receiver in the draft class this year.
Yeah.
Which is going to be huge for them. They probably, one of the best receivers in the draft class this year. So we'll see how that goes for them. Don, give me your natty winner.
Natty winner, it's just Georgia. But I am taking a side bet on Penn State. I think Penn State's a little hot. I like the odds on them. It's not.
Drew Aller's a good quarterback.
Drew Aller's a good quarterback, but I just think like the team's a little bit more gritty this season. It feels like it felt like after the Michigan scandal, everything that I've seen coming out of that school is just hatred.
Do you think
like it's just like a firing up, like that is their poster board material that's just getting them fired up?
How do you feel about Colts? Not the Colts.
No,
Colts.
I know who you're talking.
What are your opinions on Colts? Because Penn State is a Colt. It's one of the there's a couple. A lot of college football companies and sports companies or like fan bases are Colts. Penn State, Texas A&M, Clemson, those are legit Colts.
Yes, like
I don't think you're ready for Penn State to win a national championship.
I think it would be, but there is a part of me that I'm like, let's see it burn.
Don, I think it would personally affect you.
Somehow it will, but I don't know how
annoying those fans can be.
Oh, without a doubt. But
they're going to be talking about it like they've been the best team for 40 years.
But they're not there. But I mean, no, I'm not even going to defend that. I'm just going to leave that there. Yeah. But I'm sprinkling a little bit on there. I'm like, if there's going to be one outside run on Ohio and Georgia, I like them.
Drew Allar could be probably going into next year the best quarterback in all of college football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's especially if we see a few guys move on.
Yeah. Don, we got a wheel?
Yes.
Do you want me to do it? Or
if you could run the wheel.
Okay, give me four teams, Don.
I did 2 off my top 12 that were kind of the bizarre ones.
Give it to me.
Miami and UNLV. And then I did 2 just pulled up random teams.
Okay.
So one's UTEP.
Okay. A minor.
And
that's
then
fitting.
LSU.
Oh.
I literally just did give me a random college football team, and these are the 2
We're
that
going to do Eliminator, okay?
Sure.
All right, we're going to spin this wheel. Spinning. Donovan, UNLV is gone. I know you really wanted to.
I like their dynamic offense. It'd be fun.
Now, worst case scenario is UTEP.
No, I will buy a jersey tomorrow if it's UTEP. I think that'd be hilarious.
Miami off the board.
Oh, goodness.
Don, this is your team for this year.
I know.
I'm going to be going at you. We're going to do this every year.
Okay, that's fine. Am I a UTEP fan? Nope.
Don, you're a UTEP fan. Congratulations.
There we go.
UTEP Miners. You could have had Miami. You could have had UNLV.
That's fine. I figured that was going to be my luck. That's
you could have given me any. I told you.
Let's go UTEP.
Yeah.
All right. Time to start researching all about them.
I will reset your UTEP and give you a different school.
No,
but it's going to be just as bad.
No, I live by the only one.
I'll give you Hawaii.
I was going to say I want the Dragons.
I'll give you.
No. But UTEP was what we come out with. Okay. We are all about week 1 against Nebraska here. Let's go.
Oh my God. That's awful.
Oh, that's going to be such a rough one.
Shout out to Don for being a UTEP fan.
There we go.
Let's get into bust of the week. I already teased my bust of the week. I'll get it over with very quickly. Mine's DJ Ungalaveve or Ungalavele or whatever the hell
you got it right the second time.
Yeah. Coming from Southern California, he was one of the most hyped up prospects. It never worked out for him at Clemson. He did okay in or in Oregon State. Went to Florida State, and the second he got there, I was like, this guy should have been a priority. This guy has clearly not figured out how to take the next step. And after watching the game that he played, in the first half, he had negative passing yards above the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
It was pitiful. At one point, I was just like, oh, he's not going to be the starter throughout this entire season.
Not when you're playing like that.
He might not get drafted. So my bust of the week, DJ, go be a quarterback coach somewhere and just ride into the sunset, buddy, because that's your future.
For me, I'm taking the NFL owners, just all of them.
Don?
All of them for this vote. So if you don't know...
You want to create some enemies today.
Oh,
huh?
I'm swinging.
Yeah.
The NFL owners voted the other day allowing private equity firms to now buy over minority shares in NFL teams.
I hate that so much.
A lot of other major North American sports have already allowed it, but the NFL is taking a conservative approach, capping it at 10%. But the fact that they opened this door at all is what I am not a fan of.
Pandora's box.
Because this is what happened with the A's, and this is what happened with Miami. Just for the worst case scenario, what happens? Where you have the A's owner in August looking to make equity contributions to Las Vegas after getting a real estate development team to buy out his share and buy out the city of Oakland share of the stadium to basically force them out to where he wants to go and move to.
Yeah.
We've seen what's going on with Miami.
It's all about bottom lines.
It's all about bottom lines, and you don't win championships and you don't have successful teams when it's all about dollar bottom lines. Look at the teams that win frequently. They have very involved owners. They have very passionate owners, and they're willing to open their pocketbooks a little bit, take a reduction in the revenue that they make, and still make a profit.
But
but it's not as much as they could make. But in turn, you get a championship. That's what is needed. These equity firms, I think, are terrible for North American sports.
But Don, I watched Moneyball, and the A's won a championship off that strategy.
They didn't. They got bounced in playoffs.
No, I know. They did well, and Moneyball kind of works.
It works years ago. It works to an extent. These teams do make these runs, but then look what happened with Miami. They make playoffs last season, and then they gut the entire team and sell everybody off because now they're worth something. It's terrible for the fans because once your team starts doing well, your favorite player is not going to be there next season.
I love that.
It is terrible for the fans, and it's terrible for successive teams.
I love that the NFL is just look, we know we've been doing everything right. Let's do something wrong. Let's get a corporation inside this company that has been mainly family run or person to person
It's more personable.
Run, and let's make it corporate. Let's dilute it, and let's start making fans feel like they're more products than actually part of the teams.
Yeah.
The best part about college football is that, and same thing with soccer, which is the huge thing about soccer that people are angry now in Europe, is you feel like you're a part of the team.
Yeah.
It's your town. You feel that town-to-town rivalry. College football is awesome. And the NFL is one of the very few pro leagues, they do it better than the NBA and they do it better than the MLB, that feels like ours.
It's representative of the fans have a voice.
Raiders fans feel like they have a voice, and Raiders fans are like, we're Raiders fans. They literally moaned enough to keep their head coach this year. That's a thing.
Yeah. No other sports franchise can you really do that.
What am I supposed to do? When Jim Irsay got sick, I was genuinely sad. I was like, I hope Jim Irsay comes back, and he's still, not 100%, but I want him to be healthy. I'm not supposed to feel that way about a board of people trying to up the price of a beer to $15 in Indianapolis.
It's ridiculous.
I lose that person, that personability of them. It becomes a figurehead, and it becomes about. And I already know the NFL's trying to get every dollar it can from me. I pay for Red Zone. I get it.
Yeah.
But now you're doing it in front of my face, and I don't like it.
I'm not a fan of it, and it worries me for development of these teams, not just in the idea of like maintaining players and bottom line, but how is it going to affect drafting? Because if you go and get a high-end draft pick guy, you're going to have to pay the kid. And now it's like, do you see more teams not wanting to go up in drafts and go get their guy to save money? Like that's just the outcomes this is now opening.
Yeah,
we've seen in other major North American sports do not work. Do
you think this is going to affect small market teams like me and you?
Oh, immensely. Yeah, immensely. They're going to affect small market teams.
The best part about the NFL is anyone can make it's not like the MLB where LA and New York are winning everything. Like it's Kansas City's the best team. Boston is a big town, but they were winning for a long time. Philadelphia is a big town, but
the fact that Jacksonville could turn it on in 2 seasons against Jacksonville.
Green Bay is one of the biggest franchises in the NFL.
I think out of all major North American sports, I think Green Bay is the most insulated from this. It's all fan owned.
Yeah, it's all
There's
fan owned.
no way that they're going to allow somebody to take this away from them.
If I could reset everything, I'd be a Green Bay Packers fan.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Of every fan has truly a voice.
Yeah.
That is just such a cool thing.
It's awesome. Let's get into the NFL divisional breakdown. We're going to start with the AFC North. Don, your division. Let's start with the number 1 seed. Surprise, surprise. I'm guessing you picked the Ravens.
I did.
How many wins?
12-5.
Okay, not crazy.
No. I'm there's still a top 10 defense. Mm-hmm. Lamar's coming off his best statistical passing
top
season.
5 defense. Give yourself that. Top 5 defense.
I actually have it to 6 or 7 personally.
Okay.
But it's just because I'm losing Patrick Queen is a big gap, and I want to see how we fill it before I get confident.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
Yeah, we did lose Jadeveon Clowney as well, but we brought back a lot of guys. We brought back a lot of guys back onto the defense. We gave out a good amount of contracts, so I'm like, okay, we'll see how this shakes out.
Derrick Henry.
We added Derrick Henry, which supplements the Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Justice Hill.
Justice Hill's still there, yeah.
No, Justice Hill's still there, but he's no longer going to be expected to start random weeks.
I think he'll play more than people expect him to.
He's going to be a good change of down back, especially with Keaton Mitchell coming back from IR.
I think he's going to be good.
Yeah, Keaton Mitchell I think is going to be fine when he comes in, but I think Justice Hill being that kind of change of pace speed guy will be a fun little 1-2 combo there.
Went and got a good receiver. I think Dontez Walker is going to be a good number 2, maybe a 3. I'm not a Bateman guy. I've been very on record of that.
But I think Bateman moving to a 3 role would be perfect for him.
I think Flowers explodes this year.
I think he breaks the century mark. He only had 887 receiving yards, I think last season. Mark. I think he goes over 1,000 this year. I think we are going to target Isaiah Likely and work him in the offense a little bit more. We saw him flash last season.
I'm down on Mark Andrews this year. I think this is the beginning of the end of the Mark Andrews experience in Baltimore.
What I'm hoping we do with the power game that we have now with Henry is we move to a New England 2008 double tight end run.
2010 Aaron Hernandez, Gronkowski just
I think that's going to be. I think it'll be filthy if we're able to run that.
You already know. I think Isaiah Likely's the better tight end on that team now. I think at the end of this year you're going to be saying the same thing.
I'd be excited to say that, and I'd be excited to have that happen.
I think he's electric.
I just think it's more just consistency.
Yeah.
There's not too many big changes, and the ones that did are, for the most part, upgrades of those positions.
Mm-hmm. My number 1 team is the Bengals. I think the Bengals are winning this division.
Sure.
Last year I predicted the Bengals to lose the division coming last. Nailed that. I think this year the Bengals have added enough. I think you said a comment before this show started. Yeah. You said their offensive line went from bad to mediocre.
Yes.
I disagree. I think they went to above mediocre.
Okay.
I think they're still not in the top 10.
I think they're 15th, 16th.
I think they're 14th.
Okay.
I think they're good. I think they've added on that defense enough to make me go, okay, that's interesting. They brought back T. Higgins. They added on that receiver depth core with rookies and second-year players. They lost Joe Mixon, but I am not. I saw Joe Mixon's wheels fall off. I am not a Joe Mixon guy at this point anymore.
Yardage and efficiency-wise, Joe Mixon was still a top 5 running back last season.
Not compared. If you watch the games, you would see Chase Brown play, and I had Joe Mixon in fantasy football, and I'd be like, damn, Chase Brown is more electric right now.
I think it's more the consistency and knowing that he won't make a mistake.
Correct.
Is what Mixon's a steady hand.
I still think Joe Mixon's a fine back, but I think they can supplement that with Zach Moss and Chase Brown. I think Joe Burrow's on a mission. I do think they're going to be a good team. I have them going 11-6 this year. Wow. I think that division is brutal. I think this division is tough. And when I take a step back and I'm like, hey, there are usually two teams that go from last to first. It's usually the tougher teams and teams that can get there. I think there is no shocking way that, like, if the Bengals win this division, no one's shocked.
Yeah, no, it's because a big reason why they were in last season was due to the injury.
You can't predict injury, but where I'm at right now, I think that Bengals roster is a little bit better than people remember.
Sure.
I have the Ravens at the 2 seed. Okay. Also finishing 11-6. I just think that the Bengals have a better divisional record.
Okay.
And ekes them out. I have the Ravens being the number 1 team in the wild card in the AFC.
Sure. That's in the range of outcomes.
I love the Ravens. Here's where you can throw everything I say out the damn window.
Sure.
I don't like Derrick Henry.
No, we know.
I've been very vocal about Derrick Henry. And now Derrick Henry's 30 years old. I understand Derrick Henry plays a specific style of game. I understand that his style can be, he can be productive well into his early 30s playing this style. Derrick Henry hasn't been that injured.
No. He's remained pretty healthy.
I don't like it when running backs in their later years switch to another team. It rarely works out. If you look at the board, how many 30-year-old running backs go to another team and rush for 1,000 yards?
Raheem Mostert?
That's one.
I don't think Gore hit 1,000, but he was very, very productive.
He was efficient. Gore's efficient.
Gore.
Adrian Peterson had 1 year.
CMC's getting close to 30.
He's 27.
Yeah. He's already past that typical
and
RB fall
CMC
off.
At 30 years old, you'd probably be like, all right, maybe he doesn't rush for 1,000, but he might total yards be 1,000. Yeah. I can't say that about Derrick Henry. But once again, you can take everything I've said and throw it out the window because I hate Derrick Henry.
Yeah, you have the bias there.
Now, if you asked me who do I think could rush for the most touchdowns this year, guess
Derrick
who
Henry.
I'd pick? Yeah.
Yeah, that's just how the offense is set up.
And I love Lamar. I love him so much.
For me, I have the Bengals finishing second in the division.
So you respect them a little.
10-7.
You respect them a little.
It's more, I think they're playing the fourth place schedule.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an easier schedule for them throughout the season.
That means something.
It does. I think they're going to pick up a good amount of wins because of that. I'm not sold that this is going to be the same Bengals team. I
don't think so either.
That people are hyping it up to be. Mm-hmm. Last season, with Burrow as a starter, he went 0-3 in the division, and then when Burrow was out, they went 1-2. Mm-hmm. I think I'm in the idea that without Mixon, it is a downgrade at the running back position.
I agree.
Like it's instead of having your go-to guy that's been there for 4 years with your quarterback, you're bringing in new blood. I think they're going to be fine. I think it is the committee and a change of pace consistently and a change of play style between those two guys versus knowing what you have every down.
But it's the same head coach. It is the same system.
Yeah. Well, it's a new offensive coordinator. It is the same system as Zach Taylor was calling the majority of the plays, but it is a new OC there. But I think the big worry from there's a couple. For the last one on the offense, Chase not really chasing a contract negotiation and having a lot of off-field stuff.
He's playing.
He's playing. He is expected to play.
Yes.
That is a report. He's expected to play the whole season.
Came out today, yeah.
But he's in contract negotiations. Higgins, I think, is likely to be traded. They only extended him through the rest of this season. Yeah. He is a likely trade target for a lot of teams.
But he is very much said he's expected to play throughout this entire season.
Yes.
And he's reported to camp with that attitude.
Yeah, without a doubt. But I think that's a lot of off-field negotiation and worry. And I think that since he's not in the top tier teams, I think that Higgins is gone by the end of the year.
You've also been predicting the fall of Cincy for like 2 years now.
And I think this is
the nail in the coffin this year.
Because DJ Reader's gone.
That's a big hit.
That's a big hit. Do you want the splits with Reader, since Reader's been on the team? The split with him on the field for first and second down, and the split off the field first and second down.
You hit me with them, stat boy.
Bengals allowed 4.8 yards a carry. Second highest in the league last season when Reader was not on the field.
That's a lot.
With Reader on the field, they were at 4.1. Second lowest yards per carry.
Yeah.
So he's a huge guy. They brought in a lot of young guys. They brought in 3 young guys to kind of fill that gap. Unproven. Who knows what we're going to do there? Yeah, that's a big hit. And the Bengals run defense was already one of the worst in the league. They got gutted in those first 3 games of the season.
They are a slow starting team.
I
expect the same thing from them. They just have a little bit of an easier schedule, so I do think that they're going to eke out some wins.
If you look at their stats last season against the run, they were in the bottom 5 performances in the AFC North and how we have it organized now. Bottom 5 of AFC North run defenses of all time.
But they really did focus on that defensive line this year.
They drafted a few guys,
and they all made the roster.
But it's because there's no depth to their roster. That's the other one. It's the uncertainty in the secondary. Out of the 35 players in the secondary last season with at least 50 snaps that were under the age of 23, the Bengals had 4 of them. Taylor Britt's now looking to move up to cornerback 1, which he's coming off a season-ending injury last season anyway, where he missed like 7 games. Turner, who looked cooked at the end of last season. He couldn't guard anything.
Yeah, he was bad at the end.
He's now projected to be the cornerback 2.
Yeah.
And then you have Dax, who is converting from safety to cornerback this season because they have no depth at corner.
Yeah, their secondary is the thing that scares me the most. Them losing Bates last year to the Atlanta was such a clear loss to that defense. It probably lost the best safety in the league.
And then their only big returning veteran corner, Mike Hilton, who's 30 and playing on a contract year.
Mike Hilton's a good slot corner.
He's a good slot corner, but at 30 years old, that's the cliff. That's where corners fall off.
Yeah.
Typically speaking, especially in a
I think 30, you can still get a good year out of a corner.
Yeah, you could.
30 is like my year.
There's not a lot of anybody else around him.
Yeah.
Like they are running very thin there. And then their safety position it is worrisome for me in that they have 2 new starters, Geno Stone coming in and Von Bell. Geno Stone is a stud.
Say something about Geno Stone.
No, Geno Stone is very good, but it's you have young corners and 2 brand new safeties that are going to have to be communicating with each other and know what each other think. That's going to be leading into their slow start still. It's just me going, if they go 0-3, 0-4.
They're not going 0-4. They're not going 0-3. They're not going 0-3.
I'm just saying it doesn't look good. Von Bell's coming off his worst career year on the Panthers.
Von Bell's still a good
59.8 PFF rating against the run.
That's not good against the run.
63.9 overall.
He's a zone safety. Like he does drop in. He drops into coverage, and Geno Stone drops into the box and makes the hits.
Yeah,
like that's what's going to happen with them.
I'm just saying, like they're 63.9 was his rating last season on the Panthers.
You're telling me there's a world where the Bengals start 0-4? They start the season against the Patriots. They then go to Kansas City. I'll give Kansas City that win. But hey, who's the one team that's been able to go to Kansas City and win? It's quite literally only the Bengals.
It is only the Bengals.
Then the Commanders, then the Panthers. No, I think they're starting 4-1.
I think
you said 0-1.
I'm just saying I think they're a slow start team. I think it's going to be disgusting against the Patriots. The Patriots, as bad as their offense is, are still one of the top defensively coached teams in the league. I think it's just going to be gross to watch. Chiefs and Bengals are going to be interesting. Commanders have a lot to prove with a dynamic offense and with a bad defense. That's week 3. I'm not a fan of. Like that's what I'm saying. They're going to pick up the easy wins. Like they're gonna beat the Giants. They're probably gonna beat the Panthers.
They're gonna beat the Browns. They're gonna lose to the Eagles. They're gonna beat the Raiders. They're gonna beat the Chargers.
I don't think they're gonna beat the Browns. Burrow's only beat the Browns once in his career.
Yeah, time for the second.
I don't think that they're gonna win these big must-win games. They're just gonna pick up the easy ones.
I think they're gonna be way better.
We're also betting Joe Burrow's coming off a wrist surgery.
Yeah,
on his throwing hand, with the ligament injury is. It's just there's too many red flags on this team.
I think there's a lot of red flags in Baltimore too. I just don't think anyone wants to listen to them.
It's a lot of the same guys coming back. There's not as much.
That's
turnover.
not always good. That's not always good when you can't make it over the hump. That's just a fact. Look at the Buffalo format. Sometimes you run into the same walls and you're like, hey, Maybe we should switch things up. Oh, we're not. We're just adding a different version of Gus Edwards. All right, let's do it.
I think that's your bias against Derrick Henry speaking.
Probably, but I mean, what are we comparing Gus Edwards to? He's a poor version of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, so we got the upgrade.
Yeah, but he's 30 years old now. Like it's I don't know.
He's still the 1,200 yards are in the realm of possibility for him.
Yeah, no, it is. And 20 touch. Like I said, he'll still probably score 20.
That's what I'm saying.
Like
And that's a bad season. Yeah, that would come out of it.
20 touchdowns is not a bad season.
No. But I'm saying 1,200 yards is for the number one rushing offense. That would be a bad season for what we expect out of him.
Let's go to the number 3 team. Who's your number 3 team?
The Steelers.
I do
7-10.
9-8.
I think this is I'm planting my flag.
This is your third year in a row planting this flag.
That's fine.
Is it?
And it's basically, I mean, unless Ayuk does have that trade to Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. He's not.
Which, I mean, we'll see.
That trade has been canceled multiple times.
It's been canceled and then brought back. It's just pending at this point. It's like fantasy just sitting in your inbox and you're waiting. But to me, Tomlin's what was a big red flag for me, like the scariest part. Tomlin came out earlier this week in a press conference and officially said, we don't have a starting quarterback. It is still quarterback competition until week 1.
So here's where I'm different with you in the Pittsburgh thing.
Sure.
I've seen Mike Tomlin win games with way worse at quarterback than Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. So if you're telling me he gets even the smallest upgrade, I can't deny who I still believe is a top 10 coach in the NFL, in a top 10 system in the NFL, in a top 10 organization in the NFL, that they won't be able to at least win those many games.
I don't think
the rough and gritty way that they do it.
I mean, their defense is going to carry them without a doubt.
Yeah.
Because I don't have faith in this offense. I mean, Pickens is a good receiver, but there's not really anybody behind him. Like, I think that they have some... Like Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin as being the wide receiver 2, and then you have your rookies as your wide receiver 3 right now, potentially.
Roman Wilson will be the number 2 in that offense.
I think by the end of the season, he'll take over.
Remember, I was hyping up Roman Wilson. Yeah. I love that pick. I think Roman Wilson's a great route runner, and I think he didn't get utilized in Michigan the way he should be. Guess what? Pittsburgh's really good at figuring out what.
Yeah, they develop their guys.
I will never worry about a Pittsburgh receiver. Every receiving core, ever.
But I don't see him making an immediate impact. With most rookie wide receivers, unless you're a very high-end rookie wide receiver, it takes a few weeks to come up to speed.
Yeah.
And I don't think Van Jefferson or Calvin Austin are worrisome.
Here's my thing.
The number 2.
I think they win ugly games.
I
think they're going to win a couple
ugly games,
10 to 13
but
games.
How they rely on those ugly game wins is their defensive run game. Jalen Warren is already battling hamstring issues, which is going to put everything onto Najee, who's one of the most inefficient runners in the entire NFL.
Yeah, but they put emphasis on that offensive line for the first time.
For the first time, but it doesn't. He was inefficient. He couldn't break tackles.
I understand. Justin Fields will open up the run game a little more if you believe in Justin Fields.
If he takes over.
Yeah, Russell Wilson will be Russell. Like, I understand all the flaws, and I completely agree with every single red flag, but you have to admit a little bit that there is a real chance that they go 9-8 and they laugh in your face for the 3rd straight year.
There is a real chance of that, without a doubt, but it's the one, and the biggest thing for me is we saw it last season. This entire defense hinges on TJ Watt.
I think we view our defense
15 solid games out of TJ Watt this season for them to have that opportunity.
I think they can get 14 and still do it because they usually do.
With TJ Watt not on the field.
Yeah, they never win games.
They have won 1 game.
Yeah,
with TJ Watt not playing.
They've never had Russell Wilson or Justin Fields as their quarterback. You can check that stat. Yeah,
come on.
Which is true.
No, but literally their points per game, their opponents jump from 10 points per game against that defense on average to 26.3 points per game if TJ Watt's not on the field.
True or false, this is the best quarterback room that they've had since Ben Roethlisberger. Probably even since the last Ben Roethlisberger season.
I don't know. Because because Russ looks bad.
I think I can admit my Derrick Henry bias, and you cannot admit a single bias that you have in your own division.
If it was
you have
just
not
Justin
been able
Fields,
to say one positive thing about anything along your entire division. I can't wait to talk about my division. Sure. I cannot wait.
Okay, but I'm just saying, I think if it was just Justin Fields, I'd agree with you there. Russ looks bad, and he's looking to potentially be the starter. And we went over last week how rough he's looked in preseason against backups.
He doesn't
he looks cooked.
But
And I think they're going to keep him in there for 4 or 5 games, and that is going to spell doom.
But even in Denver, he was able to like eke out these whack wins. And I think Mike Tomlin's a better coach than Sean Payton at this point. And I think there's better weapons.
Is there better weapons? George Pickens and Cortland Sutton. I think that's the one. That's the one.
Pat
1A to 1B.
Freiermuth is good.
Pat Freiermuth is good, but he's never cleared more than 500 yards in a season.
Yeah, but that's literally because they've had no.
Good
quarterbacks.
Okay, is that Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah.
And then where do you put Najee compared to Javonte Williams?
Probably equal.
And then so you're just relying on that defense completely.
Yeah, and I'll take that Steelers defense over.
It's worrisome. It's just one guy. That's a big red flag. It's just one dude running that defense.
The Browns. We both have the Browns in last.
Yes.
I have them 5 wins. I think they're bad.
I think 5 and 12 too.
Shout out to us.
I think Deshaun Watson does not end the season as their starting quarterback. He's gone.
I think he's done by week 6. I think he's
the fact that he's already having shoulder issues again is wild.
No one has nailed Deshaun Watson harder than Donovan Behan. Since Houston, Donovan has been talking about how Deshaun Watson is not built to last in this league. Him going to Cleveland made Donovan Behan so happy, while everyone on Twitter was like, "How could the
$200 million guaranteed?
How could the Browns do this? I know he's good, but like they're bankrupt. They're solely bankrupt." And Don was laughing because he's like, "Oh, they're gonna be bad.
They're gonna be bad."
Yeah, Nick Chubb. Here's my thing. I love Nick Chubb.
I agree. Nick Chubb has been a fun player to watch. I like him as a person.
You've never said bad things about Nick Chubb.
I cannot hate Nick Chubb. He is so much fun.
I still think the Browns' offensive line very good.
Yes, but Nick Chubb's not missing half the season.
I don't think Nick Chubb's Nick Chubb right away.
No,
not even right away. I don't think we're getting Nick Chubb.
We're betting on him having this second catastrophic knee injury like this because he had one in college.
Yeah,
he's an older back. He's like 28 now.
He's an older guy,
and he's not like. There's only been one season where a guy's come off an injury like to that extreme and played well, and that was Adrian Peterson.
And he's probably one of the best running backs in my life.
Yeah, so I don't know if Nick Chubb's to that level.
Defense is still great.
Defense is still good.
Still good.
Still good. Their post-week 10 schedule,
brutal.
It is. They play Saints and Broncos.
Yeah.
Both not the best teams,
I don't like the Saints.
but both hard-hitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both are teams that will just like light you up.
Yeah.
Then you got the Chiefs and Bengals, Dolphins, Ravens, and then Steelers twice. That's their last 7 games.
That's where I'm like the Bengals are going to win, the Steelers are going to win. Like where I'm like, Don, I don't think the Steelers are going to be good, but I think that they're going to figure out a way to end the season positive because just like everything happens in your division, something falls apart in one team and then people just get free wins except for one strange loss.
Yeah.
The Ravens have like every year they'll have like 1 or 2 games where you're like, that wasn't the Ravens.
No, it's like what happened there, head scratchers.
Yeah, Colts last year where you're like, what the hell?
Out of those last 7 games, 5 of them are on the road for the Browns.
Yeah, it's bad.
That's just a rough spot to be in. And then also they pulled arguably one of the worst moves I could think of with Deonta Foreman. Had a rib injury against Seattle last week in the preseason, and then immediately cut him this week.
That one shocked me to my core. I thought Deontay Foreman was going to be a stud in Denver or in Cleveland.
I thought he was going to be a great compliment to Ford, both hard-hitting, running guys. It's going to be Pierre Strong Jr. again now.
Yeah.
And then their second-round pick, defensive tackle, Mike Hall Jr. is reported today, was arrested for domestic violence.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, so they're losing their new defensive tackle who's supposed to take over to a starting role.
Pretty good guy.
Yeah, he's
not in real life. Good football player. Not a good person.
No. So he's on the commissioner exempt list now. Apparently, he pulled out a gun and did some stuff.
Shout out to him. Bengals for me, it's Bengals first in the NFC North.
Yeah.
Ravens, Steelers, Browns. Don's got the Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Browns.
Yes.
Let's go hit the AFC South. I'll start at the top.
Sure.
I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are winning this division.
Really?
I think the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You and I are going to be very different on this division.
Have the 11-6 in this division.
Okay.
4th seed in the entire AFC. I love it when people start poo-pooing on teams that were doing really good the whole season and then just got injured to the end of the year.
Yeah.
They're the perfect team to just blow up the next year. I think Doug Peterson is a good head coach.
He has been.
I think what Jacksonville's done and said, we're going to go get weapons. we don't care. We're going to go get weapons for Trevor Lawrence, our young quarterback. We're going to go reassure this defense, which they did. They have a sneaky good defensive line. Jacksonville is going to be a good football team if they can stay healthy. And I think they do. I think Jacksonville is very good this year. I think they're going to surprise some people. Jacksonville Jaguars are my number one team. Now go say the Texans.
Yeah, mine is Texans at 10-7. And it's mainly, I think they
I have
made
them 10-7 too.
Yeah, I think that they've made some really good additions. Joe Mixon's an upgrade on whatever they had at running back last season.
Damian Pierce and Devin Singletary was good at the end of the year.
He was okay, but he wasn't consistent.
Yes, he was. He was consistent. You knew exactly what 50 yards he was going to get you.
But I mean, he wasn't the reliable like check down guy a rookie quarterback needs sometimes. He wasn't there to pass block to the level I know we all know Joe Mixon are able to do.
Joe Mixon's going to be in the game a lot.
And then you have Stephon Diggs, who I don't think Stephon Diggs is to the level he was in the previous years.
I still think he can.
But as a wide receiver 3, he's going to contribute really well.
I think they have the best wide receiving core, top to bottom, across the entire league.
And what I'm really hoping is we see a more mentorship role of him over with Tank Dell there. I think that could elevate his game, having one of the best receivers start working with these younger guys.
Good defense.
Yeah, they added Daniel Hunter and then Carmine Lassiter.
Great.
And I think Lassiter and Stinger,
very good corner duo.
I think it's going to be a dangerous duo. It's going to be filthy to watch. And DeMarco Ryan is just he's excelled at whatever, or D'Amico Ryan has excelled no matter where he's gone.
Yeah, he's very good. Here's my thing. This is not biased. I love CJ Stroud. He grew up 10 minutes away. He played football against my brother and played on one of my brother's best friends played with him growing up. I root for him and Bryce Young, California guys, and I will never say bad things even though he's in my division. He threw 24 touchdowns last year. People think he threw 50. The way they talk about it.
I don't get where
they were a dropped pass away from a backup running back thrown from a backup quarterback away from losing to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, did CJ Stroud light up a Joe Flacco Browns defense that was injured to hell and limped into the playoffs?
Yes.
Sure, yeah, we'll give him that. What happened when he played a good team? Oh, he did really bad?
Yeah.
Oh, and now they play a first place schedule?
It's going to be a rough year.
And now it's going to be... I'll say it. Their offense is very good, but that offensive line outside of Laramie Tunsil, not that great.
No, it's not the best, and I think that because he's second or third in MVP odds, he's super high in odds depending on what book you're looking at. I'm not worried about him to that MVP caliber level. He's going to be good. He's a great
What's
passer.
The number of touchdowns for you that you're that's about right?
32.
I don't think he gets to that.
I think that's his ceiling. That's where I'm that's where this is. I could buy the hype.
10-7. We have him at 10-7.
10-7.
So yeah. I just think the Jaguars are just literally a little bit better.
I have the Jaguars at 9-8, just literally one step below my second seed there.
9-8. So we're both. You can see the vision of the Jaguars, though, right?
I think this is
swing game where you're okay, yeah, they eked out 2 wins that I didn't think they were going to get.
Exactly. Yeah. That's where I'm at with the Jags. Lawrence playing through injury is not something I like to see.
I didn't like it.
I didn't like it, especially because it was a leg injury and he was still trying to run on it. I'm just okay.
They fell apart quickly.
They fell apart dramatically there.
But they were good.
They were good.
They were actually good throughout most of the season.
But the idea that you now have Brian Thomas Jr.,
good,
which is I think
end
of season he's going to be good.
I think at the end of the year he's the number one, and we're fantasy football people are going to be get him in the third round. I think he's very good.
I think he will be. I'm buying into the hype on him. But beginning of the season, it's going to be Christian Kirk still's the number one. I don't have a lot of faith in Gabe Davis being a true number 2 until the rookie comes along. Now,
I know this might sound crazy. At Gabe Davis right now, who was a number 2 last year.
Yes.
Do you think Gabe Davis as the number 3 is as good as Stephon Diggs, wide receiver 3?
No, I think Diggs is still going to be more consistent.
Okay.
Because Gabe Davis is just a burner.
Yeah, and but at your 3, that's kind of what you want.
But that's not what Lawrence really throws to.
But the other 2 guys and Evan Ingram are route running technicians who can make big plays.
I want to see Gabe Davis elevate his game a little bit, add an extra little twist on your route running, and you'll be great. But it's just not there, and we haven't seen him ever take that step. But like you said, their defense did take a big step forward. Ark Armstrong,
Huge addition.
Darnell Savage,
Huge addition.
but Ryan Nielsen, we'll see how he does. It's a new defensive coordinator. This will be a new scheme. I think it takes a week. But that's fine. That's
here's the thing. They've been in. It takes a few weeks for every team to get back into motion of football.
Oh, without a doubt. You dust the rust off.
Number 3 team.
I have the Colts.
I have the Titans.
Okay. I have the Colts at 8-9.
I have the Titans at 7-10.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Titans real fast.
Sure.
Where do you have the Titans?
6-11.
Okay, I have the Colts at 6-11.
But I have them I have Titans in a complete rebuild right now.
Okay.
And I think that's a good thing. If they hit 6-11 and they win a couple strong games, they're in the right direction.
I'm at
not worried about
We're
them.
about the same area.
Sure.
I saw flashes of Will Levis.
Yeah.
I saw moments where I'm like, okay, you got to give him a try. I don't know what it's going to be. I think they surrounded him with weapons. I think that they're going to get coached a lot better. That offensive coordinator comes from Cincy.
Yes.
And he knows how to be a little bit more dynamic with the ball. I think they're going to try to copy what Cincy does. I think sometimes it's going to put them in bad spots because in the past few years, I felt like they were way too over-reliant on Joe Burrow making a wow play and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins trying to make a wow play. I think they're going to try to do that with Will Levis and throw the ball to his elite receivers or quote-unquote aging elite receivers. Defense is scary good.
Yes.
They added some players. They probably added one of the best corners in the league. They added a really good safety in Simmons. Their defensive line is still very good, and they're going to win some games at 7-10.
I think they will. I think Brian Callahan bringing in his dad, Bill,
Yeah.
and then going and drafting J.C. Latham will just solidify this O-line, which is something Will Levis really needs for his development.
I still think they're going to have a little issues in that offensive line.
It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
Because he's going to have to reteach them from scratch from what we saw last season. But I think bringing in Calvin Ridley, who had flashes last season, having him complement when Hopkins is going to be back from injury, I think are going to be not the best receiver
Tyler
core.
Boyd is number 3, which is going to be a really good number 3.
I think it's just strong, consistent hands, which is great for quarterback development.
Okwonu, who's a pretty good tight end who can make dynamic plays. 2 pretty good running backs. Whether one's going to be the alpha or not, we don't know.
We'll see.
We know what Tony Pollard is as a number 2.
Yeah.
Very good. And I've seen enough of Tajay Spears to be like, wait, he was taking time away from Derrick Henry last year.
I think Tajay Spears turns into the 1A in this offense.
I do too.
It would be interesting to see them run in kind of a 2 running back set.
I do think it's going to be more like
into
that.
the slot once in a while.
I think they're going to be the most 1-2, even more than Detroit. I think they're going to be 1-2 to the core.
Like if you saw them in preseason, they were literally at one point they rotated snaps.
Yeah,
like it was 1-on, 1-off, which isn't something they're going to do in the regular season, but it's a true 1A, 1B, 50-50 split.
I want to talk about the Colts.
Sure,
I'm going 6-11.
Okay.
I think we lose our first game of the season, making it 10 straight losses. This has no indication on how I feel Anthony Richardson does. This is more of an indication about where I'm at with Chris Ballard. He's completely neglected our secondary, going in for the second straight year with just rookies and second-year players. And I get it. That'd be great if you were good at drafting him. But over the past 5 years, you've consistently shown that you're not good at drafting them or developing them. Linebacking core still pretty good. We had the number 1 tackler in Zaire Franklin, but now he's got the target on his back. Let's see how he does in pass coverage, which is something he's notoriously bad at. Defensive line's good. Across the board, we have a top 4 defensive line. It's fantastic. They're going to be very, very good. Rotational players, not worried there. Offensive line, getting a little older, but they'll still be in the top 10. I think they take a step back from the number 3 PFF ranking. You want me to get to the juicy part? You want me to talk about Anthony Richardson? I'll talk about it.
Sure.
It's his rookie year this year. year.
No, it really is.
I'm counting it as his rookie year this year. I believe in Shane Steichen. I'm going to say something that's going to make real Colts fans angry with me. I'm done with Jonathan Taylor.
Interesting.
I think it's done. I don't think
because he did well last season.
I don't think the system that works well with Anthony Richardson is inducive of what traits Jonathan Taylor does. I think we need more of a dynamic running back that can beat people to the outside, guys like Tajay Spears. Or I would like more of a complimentary backfield. Whatever. We paid Jonathan Taylor. I have to suck it up. I think we have one of the best rookie wide receivers in the league, Adonai Mitchell, but he's going to have an up and down year. He's going to have some insane, flashy plays, just like George Pickens had in his rookie year, where we're like, that guy has something.
Yeah.
I think Adonai Mitchell has the same. I think Michael Pittman has a regular Michael Pittman year. 100 catches, 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns, whatever.
Sure.
I don't think Anthony Richardson's healthy this whole year. I think he plays 14 games, which is better.
Yeah, that's a big improvement from last season.
We're definitely getting Joe Flacco games.
Which is going to be really interesting with this offense.
We are not Joe Flacco ready. We are not built for a Joe Flacco offense. Whatever. I'm expecting bad. I want good, but I'm expecting bad. This isn't me being negative. This isn't me being pessimistic. I understand where the Colts are at. Last year and the year before that, I think the Colts are in a more ready position to make a push to make a playoff game. They're not there right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the biggest boom or bust team in the entire NFL. Because if
Anthony Richardson's that guy.
Because it's on his shoulders. If they go 12 wins, I would be like, okay, Anthony Richardson for MVP. I'm buying into the hype. He's there. If they go 3 wins, I could see that happening too. That means just the wheels fell off and everyone got hurt. It's just that is the range of outcomes for this team. So there's just nothing going to be surprising to me. That's where I have him kind of third. I have him in the middle of the pack because that feels that's the in between of the two extremes that I could see them having.
Do you know how old Anthony Richardson is?
He's like 23.
He's 22. He just turned 22.
Okay.
That's my other thing with Anthony Richardson. I don't need it right now. CJ Stroud's going to be 24.
Yeah, a little more mature.
Will Levis is about to be 20. Like, he is 24 already. Trevor Lawrence is 26. We got time.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it. These two teams, the Jags and the Texans, they're in Super Bowl window now. Let's go get our quarterback on a good deal.
Yeah, it's just I think the biggest worry with Richardson is health.
Yeah, I think it's accuracy now too. I think accuracy is a bit of a problem.
You mean he can't throw really well with his left hand?
Yeah. I think
that was cool to see, though. I won't lie.
I think he has one insane throw in his bag. He can throw the piss out of the ball. He can throw an absolute nuclear arm strike dagger straight to wherever he wants it. The problem for me is I don't think he has the ability for touch right now. Once again, he's literally only been playing quarterback for 5 years of his life.
Yeah, that's not long.
He's the biggest, fastest, and most athletic quarterback we have ever seen at the position. I can't give up on that yet. After this year, come back to me.
Sure.
Yeah. That's my division breakdown. I have the Jaguars in first seed, Texans in the second, Titans in the third, Colts in the fourth.
Yeah.
Don, you got the Texans in first, Jaguars in second, Colts in third, Titans to finish last.
Yes.
Let's get this question of the day and pick of the week out real quick.
Sure.
Question of the day, Don, what is your favorite stat? What is your favorite stat in sports, period? Now, it can be like a stat that you've seen on the, like, whether it's Jameis Winston's 30-30 season, or whether it's the Mookie Betts leads all Dodgers players in every statistic.
I loved that one. That was so much fun.
Or it's Shohei Ohtani, who's probably going to get like the first 50 steals, first 50 home run season in all of MLB history. Or it can be like, I really like to go to 3-point percentage. I like to go look at like what players, like that stat gets you going, completion percentage, QBR, whatever gets you going. For me, I love to look at free throws.
Free throws ones are interesting.
Free throws get me going. I can look at the free throw percentage board up and down because you're like, I think Kwame Brown should get more minutes.
Sure.
Yeah.
For me, it's the weird outlier ones. Like the two I always fall back to, like my favorite, like is back pocket weird ones. Adam Dunn, one of the best true outcome hitters of all time, just was before his time to the modern day. 50%, almost 50% of his plate appearances ended in the 5 true outcomes where he just never actually hit a single.
What?
Yeah, it was either a walk, home run, or strikeout.
What a dog!
Like 50%. It's just a weird thing.
It's a good stat.
Like it's such a bizarre fact, and he just cleaned house at that. And then he also was one of the few guys that could just rake against Kershaw.
Yeah.
Like he was below
Yeah.
average against all left-handed pitchers, but then was the over the span of 14 appearances against Kershaw, was the best over those couple of years against Kershaw.
Yeah, he was really good.
He just lived on the fringes. Those were pretty fun to me. The other one is like Babe Ruth. Because
Babe Ruth stats are just like what I do when I'm playing Madden on like rookie. Like it's crazy.
on rookie, everyone forgets. So Babe Ruth, up until Bond started working out and eating healthy breakfasts,
Smoking cigars, 3 times a day.
yeah, he found the system that worked for him. Everyone needs to find that kind of weight regimen. Until Bond took off and went nuclear, Babe Ruth's home run record, a lot of people were thinking it was untouchable. People forget Babe Ruth's first 4 seasons in the league was as a pitcher. He wasn't batting.
He was a dog.
Imagine, like, if he played those first 4 years,
He had those 50-mile-an-hour sliders. I mean, no one could hit them.
that's such a weird freaking pitch.
Yeah.
But like, if he batted for those first 4 years, he would be near Barry Bonds' numbers.
Yeah,
Like, he was such a freak of nature in all the best ways.
to be fair, he was playing people that were at war. Like he was playing against people that like didn't go to war.
In the
20s, 30s?
a couple seasons here and there, but not overall in his entire career.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
Like,
crazy.
You had that, and then you even had the fact that he was a Red Sox, a Yankee, and a Dodger.
Yeah, no one
which was
really
a lot
talks
of fun.
about the other 2 teams. He's kind of just a Yankee.
Well, is the back pocket idea of like, oh, he was a Red Sox for the pitcher, for
Yeah.
the pitching aspect. He was a Yankee for the majority, and then after he retired, he came back 3 years later to be a first base coach for the Dodgers.
Yeah, he's
Like
yeah.
he played against the 3 biggest rivals over that time period too, which was a lot of fun.
Should I get a Babe Ruth Dodgers jersey?
I think it goes hard.
That'd be
I think the
fire.
idea of that goes hard.
Hey, Babe Ruth didn't play for the Dodgers. Nah, but he coached. Guess who's getting a custom Babe Ruth Dodgers jersey?
There you go.
Yep. Don, I love that you had those 2 stats and not knowing what the question was.
No, that's
beautiful.
just what sits in my brain all day.
Pick of the week. My pick of the week is South Dakota State versus Oklahoma State over at 54.5. Both offenses are good. South Dakota State's one of the best FBS schools. They played in the playoff last year. I think they lost in the conference championship. They returned a bunch of players. They're going to be really good. Oklahoma State has the best running back in the entire conference. 54.5. I think that number gets smashed.
Wow. I'm going to go 2 just for an MVP future for the NFL.
Give it to me.
I'm taking Jared Goff for the MVP.
You're such a guy.
It's 14 out of 17 games for him are in a dome this season, and his splits in a dome versus outdoors are ridiculous.
Division's going to be harder.
The division is going to be harder, but indoors he has a 99 passer rating on his career. Outdoors it's 89. He has a 67.5% completion percentage when he plays indoors, 62% outdoors, about half an interception per game on average indoors, 0.79 interceptions per game outdoors, 1.75 TDs per game indoors. It drops to a 1.45 outside. And then this is the weird one.
Yeah.
Outside, 4.2 touchdown percentage. So that means every pass he throws, 4.2 of them goes for a touchdown when he plays outside. That goes up to 5.2% when he plays inside. 5.2% last season will put him above Josh Allen and put him in the top 7 just in front of Lamar. When
I think he throws more
inside-
touchdowns than Lamar. I think if he doesn't, it's disappointing.
No, but I'm saying completion, it's not even how many he throws, it's how many throws compared to how many attempts he makes.
Yeah, but he's not making as many crucial attempts because he's handing the ball off a lot of times. I like Jared
But
Goff.
no, his
I just
ratio
think-
was just there. Like his ratio, he had one of the lower interception ratios when he plays inside in his career.
Yeah.
And one of the highest passing touchdowns per attempts.
I like Jared Goff. I just know what it's like to root for Jared Goff when things go bad.
Well, that is true, but I'm saying I'm leaning. So there was a article put out by Paul Priebus on Bleacher Report where he broke down the 3 main components for winning an MVP.
Mm-hmm.
First one being, what's your team record? You can't have a losing record to win an MVP.
No, you actually have to be successful in the playoffs too.
Lions 10 plus wins?
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's the first one knocked off right there.
yeah.
Second one, you need to have a media factor kind of coverage where they can build a story. That just happens with every MVP. You need to have some kind of outlier fact about you.
Yeah.
What's more outlier than an MVP coming out of Detroit right now? That's a
They have
Cinderella
They
story
have to make
writing
an
itself.
NFC championship for him to get there.
And that's
I don't think they're a top 3 team in the NFC.
They give out the MVP for regular season, not playoffs.
Yeah, but isn't it ironic how all of them were always in the playoffs?
No, I mean, without a doubt. Well, if he's 10 wins, he's making playoffs.
Yeah, but like they're successful in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Lamar won his MVP losing in the divisional round, and that's usually like.
But
they usually have to make it there.
Yeah, but that feels like something the Lions could do is make it to the divisional. That's in the range of outcomes. They are a heavy Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah, it depends on what they draw.
And so the third one, you had Lamar and Cam being dual threat. You had Aaron Rodgers and his MVP defying age. Manning's reinvention in the Broncos. Like you had a lot of those. I'm saying the Detroit one could be a good storyline there. And then the last one is where would the team be with an average replacement? And I think the fact that this is an indoor heavy season for him and he plays in the top 7 in touchdown percentages, one of the best interception ratios. His completion percentage is nearing 70% when he plays indoors. Yeah. That is above any replacement that this team would have.
My whole thing is I don't think a lot of people love the Detroit weapons. I'm not a Jameson Williams guy. I think he's just a guy. I think he's good.
He's good, but he's not, I'm not putting him up there as
I think Amon-Ra is very good. I think Laporta is very good.
Yep.
But like I don't think those are the weapons to go get you especially when I have other people having stud years this year at quarterback. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be in that nomination. I think Patrick Mahomes hasn't won one
without a doubt
in 3 years.
No, so, I think those guys are the juice isn't on those guys to me. That's where I'm looking at this.
What's the odds for Jared Goff?
Goff MVP odds. Let me bring those up real quick.
Gotcha. What was your other pick?
My other pick.
I'll look up the odds.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
My other pick is I'm taking Penn State to cover -8.5 against West Virginia. Last season, this was the season opener for both these teams as well, and Penn State opened up as 21-point favorites. They ended up winning 38-15. West Virginia's 2-6 in their last 8 against the spread against Big Ten opponents. The Natties are 6 straight against Big 12 opponents, and over the last 20 are 15-4-1.
Yeah,
I think the line's down. Like a big contribution is Penn State is installing a new offense currently. But for a big-name school like this is kind of routine. It shouldn't be anything that adjusts too much. 9 points is something that's very capable for Penn State, especially if they're looking to make a big push in this division.
Jared Goff's MVP odds.
Yes.
What's a number you would be like, that's the number I'm looking for?
2,800.
He's at 20.
20? That's fine.
Yeah, he's at like 25 on the best sites.
Yeah.
But across the board.
Floating around there.
Like 18, 20, 18, 18, 18. He's around there. You can get Lamar for 20, though.
I'll sprinkle up. No, they're probably not going to do back-to-back.
Being a Jalen Hurts for 14. You know, like...
I'll take... I like the
You
juice.
can get Brock Purdy for 15. And if you really,
But for an outside shot, for a guy that I know, this is the ideal situation season for him. This is the best season that they could put for him.
I would rather take my outside shot on a different quarterback.
Sure.
And a guy that I've already talked kind of highly about. I would rather take it for Trevor Lawrence at plus 3,000 across the board.
I guess I'm just too negative on Lawrence. I don't think he's going to ever take that kind of step.
I don't think he's ever going to be top 7, but I think he's better. He can be better than Jared Goff's best. I really think people really don't understand how close they were to getting rid of Jared Goff. They literally drafted one of the best college quarterbacks in Hendon Hooker last year, who, if he didn't tear his ACL, probably would have been competing for Jared Goff's job. Probably not that, but like Jared Goff was, if he did not perform last year, probably loses his job this year.
He played lights out last year.
He played good. He didn't play lights out.
For him, he played great.
They were... All right, I'm going to say something. We're going to end this very quickly.
Sure.
But last year's MVP was weird. It happens every few years where like no one really clearly was the MVP. Lamar, I'm very happy he won it. But even a lot of people were like, probably a weaker Lamar year to win it.
Yeah.
Like there's been other years where like probably could have given it to Lamar. Whatever, he did have a good season. Fine. If they really wanted that storyline, and Jared Goff was good enough last year when they were winning the division, they would have given it to him last year. If he was good, if his stats were that good. I don't know if he's that good this year.
I think they are. Green Bay is going to took the step forward. I don't.
And the Bears.
But then you have Minnesota taking a big step backwards right now.
Huge step backwards.
And so I think that's going to play a big factor into it. And I think it's the schedule. Like, not even against who they're playing, but how they're playing.
Yeah.
It is the most ideal scenario for Goff to succeed.
Yeah,
If he's going to win one this season, if he's going to win one in his career, this is the year to do it.
29 years old, turning 30 in the season.
Yeah, this
Makes
is
sense.
the only shot he has in my mind. Like, because everything's set up for him.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. It's our longest episode, but please check the whole thing out. It was a lot of fun. Football this weekend. Have a great time. Remember, pray for the parlay.